just a song at the start, and it soon is a hymn to your grace.
When the music swells, I'm touching your hand. It tells me you're standing near, and
at the sound of your voice, heaven opens its portals to me.
can I help but rejoice that a song such as ours came to be?
And I always knew I would live life through
with a song in my heart
Welcome to Highclere Castle, and thank you for coming here. If you want to come into the library with me, and then after that, I'm going to go leave you to have a look around. Is that okay?
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
So welcome to the library of Downton Abbey. Isn't it a fabulous room?
Oh, my goodness.
There are 6,500 books, and I have read every single one. No, I haven't.
So as the Sicilian Tenors go on to explore the castle, I wanted to take a moment so that the audience can learn a little bit more about you and about Highclere. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's a joy to have you all here.
It really has been a special occasion for the Tenors, I know for myself, in this beautiful, beautiful place. Tell us a little bit about the room where we are right now.
Well, the library is, I think, so well known from Downton Abbey, but it's also much more antique than you might think, because there has been a home here for 1,200 years. So there might have been a library in this area because it faces east, so the sun is not going to harm the books for, 500-600 years. Today, there's 6,500 books in the library, and the oldest goes back to one by Ariosto, which is about 1438. So it is a truly remarkable library, and yet one which I've pulled books out to have a look at or to read. And the fifth Earl of Carnarvon, who lived here, the man who discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun, would also have used this for his research, for his reading. So it's a proper library in every sense.
You know, what's so interesting to most people watching this is that you can kind of reference the Earl who discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a reference that not most people can make.
It's not. So I've written a book about it, which goes from the real Downton Abbey to the tomb of Tutankhamun. It spans two global media events, the discovery in 1922-23, and then, of course, Downton Abbey, which kind of hit the world stage, firstly in 2010 as the series began, and then with two extraordinarily successful movies. So we've been very lucky. I hope the castle was owned by the church for 800 years, so perhaps God is still looking down and smiling at our endeavors to keep going.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful.
I love that chandelier.
Wow. Hey guys, look at this.
Oh, wow. You know what? This is very sounds Elliot. I like that song.
Let's just sing that one.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Written over a century ago, If You Were the Only Girl in the World will be very familiar to those who love Downton Abbey.
Sometimes when I feel bad and things look blue, I wish a pal I had, say one like you. Someone within my heart to build a throne. Someone who'd never part to call my own. If you were the only girl in the world, and I were the only boy, nothing else would matter in the world today. We could go on loving in the same old way. A garden of Eden just made for two, with nothing to mar our joy. I would say such wonderful things to you. There would be such wonderful things to do if you were the only girl in the world, and I were the only boy. If you were the only girl in the world, and I were the only boy.
The timeless classic Stardust from the pen of Hoagie Carmichael has captured the hearts of listeners for decades. With its haunting melody and poetic lyrics, it really paints a picture of love and nostalgia. And what a better backdrop to sing this song than Highclere Castle, Stardust.
And now the purple dusk of twilight time steals across the meadows of my heart. High up in the sky the little stars climb, always reminding me that we're apart. You wander down the lane and far away, leaving me a song that will not die. Love is now the stardust of yesterday, the music of the years gone by. Sometimes I wonder why I spend the lonely night dreaming of a song. The melody haunts my reverie, and I am once again with you. When our love was new, and each kiss an inspiration. but that was long ago. Now my consolation is in the stardust of a song beside a garden wall. When stars are bright, you are in my arms. The nightingale tells his fairy tale of paradise where roses grew. Though I dream in vain, in my heart it will remain, my stardust melody, the memory of love's refrain.
Not only is this a physical presence, but it also seems to be, in a way, a state of mind. Do you find that?
I think the castle has its own character. It does, again, in the TV series Downton. But when I'm living here, it has its own atmosphere sometimes. Sometimes in the evening, I feel it's settling down. During COVID, I think it was sort of half going to sleep, as it was impossible to dust and you just let it be. At other times, writing on the top floor, sometimes I think, I'm not the only one here, I don't think, because you hear funny footsteps here and there. And sometimes you feel stronger than others about staying there. And the dogs feel the same as I.
I have heard that there are several potential ghosts here.
Well, I certainly saw a ghost shortly after my father-in-law had died, which led me to have a priest come and bless the castle. It was so amazing. It was welcoming people to our home, welcoming them to come and eat. And then we also asked the ghost to go on his way, if he didn't mind awfully.
And did he?
I think most of the time he has, not always been here, which is positive.
You mentioned Downton. In a way, the castle was, I would say, the lead character.
Yes, thank you. I agree. I think it is. And I think that's been an anchor and a point of reassurance for everybody in the past few years, during the challenging COVID years we've had. It's still here. And the characters were all shapes and sizes and different backgrounds, just like all of us. So it's been a wonderful point of reassurance, I think. And I hope it goes on being so.
Well, what is it about the castle, you think, particularly in the series and movies, that attracted people?
If I knew and I could bottle it, I'd be a very happy lady. So we don't sadly benefit from any of the royalties or success of Downton. It's up to us and the castle to make its own way in the world with different endeavours. And, I'm always looking for that nugget, those gold threads, the common threads that bind us all together as people. What gives us all such entertainment? What makes us laugh and cry together? And that's what I always wish to share. So I enjoy the challenge and the process, and I enjoy welcoming people here.
Do you think perhaps it was the fantasy of living this sort of gilded lifestyle, or the type of gilded lifestyle that was?
Well, do you know what? I don't think it was as gilded as, for example, the Gilded Age. I think it's more real, and I think that's what attracted people. That, yes, it's a dreamy world apart, and you enter the park gates, and you think, oh, phew, I've got a bit of time out in a world apart. But I think the characters, Mrs. Patmore, Leslie Nichols, and Daisy, and, Anna and Bates, as well as Lady Mary and Lady Edith, who kind of showcase the more gilded lives, if you like. But they all had their ups and downs, so it wasn't gilded. And I think that is part of its attraction. We're all imperfect.
This next song is I Hear You Calling Me. It was sung by the great tenor John McCormick, and it's filled with love and loss. Those familiar with the great period pieces that have been filmed here at Highclere Castle will also be familiar with the theme of this song. Ladies and gentlemen, I Hear You Calling Me.
I hear you calling me. You call me when the moon had veiled her light. Before I went from you into the night, I came. Do you remember? For one last kiss beneath the kind starlight. I hear you calling me, and all the ringing gladness of your voice, the words that made my longing heart rejoice. You spoke, do you remember? And my heart still hears the distant music of your voice. I hear you calling me, though years have stretched their weary lengths between, and on your grave the mossy grass is green. I stand, do you behold me, listening still, hearing your voice through all the years between. I hear you calling me.
This is a really special desk in the library. Hugh Bonneville sat here playing Lord Grantham in Downton Abbey. It's also where we've collected some photographs of the late Queen, because she was my husband's godmother. Isn't that amazing? And there is his christening, and he's being held in the Queen's arms with his parents and grandparents. And she used to come here, I think, in time out. It's lovely photographs of just walking in the garden with her beloved horses. And it was just such an honour to welcome her here. It's an extraordinary legacy, I suppose, that we have now. She'd known my father-in-law all her life, since they were 16 or 17. And when he sadly died in 2001, she came to his funeral, which was such an honour. And we were sitting at the front of the church, and the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, behind. And we were about to sing, "I Vow to Thee, My Country." And I heard her say, "This is going to be a tough one." So, but would you honour me by singing it here today?
Oh, we'd be honored.
Thank you.
I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above, entire and whole and perfect, the service of my love.
The love that asks no question, the love that stands the test, that lays upon the altar the dearest and the best.
The love that never falters, the love that pays the price, the love that makes undaunted the final sacrifice. There's another country I've heard of long ago, most dear to them that love her, most great to them that know.
We may not count her armies, we may not see her king, her fortress is a faithful heart, her pride is suffering.
And soul by soul and silently her shining bounds increase, and her ways are ways of gentleness, and all her paths are peace.
That was really terrific, wasn't it, folks? And joining us here right now are the Sicilian Tenors, fresh off of the performance, and also our special guest, our host for the program, the Countess of Carnarvon. Thank you so much. You requested that song. What did you think of the performance?
It was beautiful. Thank you so much for singing it. And it's just so meaningful.
And could you talk about the musical history of the place a little bit?
Well, actually, every May we have a musical concert here in the castle in the saloon. And you're sitting around them, perhaps 60 of you, in perhaps how Mozart might have composed and played his music in Vienna. So there's part of how we take music forward today and welcome people. We have concerts outside in the temples, just as I hope that you might do as well. And then over the years, we've had so many different artists who've come here. Malcolm Sargent was perhaps one of the most well-known British pianist composers. He used to conduct the proms. Very famous for being so debonair and so good-looking, just like the three of you.
I love being at the
But famous for his sense of dress, and an extraordinary man who led this country also through conducting orchestras and playing in World War II as well. And so he was often here at the castle. So it's part of everyday life, I hope. When I write, I always have music on in the background. I think it kind of eddies round my brain. Maybe John Rutter or things like I Vow to Thee, My Country. Obviously, the Sicilian Tenors. and just some of my favorites, some of my Mozart, Verdi favorites, because I think, I don't know what music does in your brain, but it's good for it.
And this is actually a wonderful venue for music, isn't it? Just the acoustics in some of the rooms?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
What was it that surprised you guys about this, about singing here?
Was just actually just the whole atmosphere lifts us up, right? You know, and the acoustics were wonderful, and the history of it. it just made you want to sing even if you couldn't sing, right, Ellie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Of course. No, the beauty, I mean, everything is just so gorgeous here. It's amazing. It's over the top.
Inspiring?
Absolutely. I mean, to be in this historical and rich cultural place is inspiring for us musically as well.
All right, I have to ask you what's coming up in the next segment. You knocked it out of the park in the first segment. What do we have to look forward to after this?
Well, we're going to have a beautiful white tie event, and we're going to have the tails on and the ties, and we had a great party, and we've got it all on film.
Cocktails.
Oh, a lot of cocktail.
Maybe we will tape that.
I hope you'll come back another time. We can do it for the Sicilian Tenors through all the seasons. It'd be fun to do something at Christmas too, wouldn't it? But I hope
spoiler alert.
Enjoys this and has a really good time tonight anyway.
Che bella cosa una giornata e sole, un'aria serena dopo una tempesta, e l'aria fresca pareggia una festa. Che bella cosa una giornata e sole, ma tu sole più bello è lo sole mio sta in fronte a te. Quando fa notte o sole se ne scende, ma venne quasi una malinconia. Sotto finestra toia restaria. Quando fa notte o sole se ne scende, ma tu sole più bello è te, o sole mio sta in fronte a te.
Please tell us a little bit about some of the historical events here, the Queen visits, all that sort of thing.
There have been royal visits here to Highclere ever since certainly Queen Caroline in the 18th century, married to George II, the one before the one who lost the colonies in Hamilton. My favourite song, actually. But And obviously, particularly in the time of Edward VII, the Prince of Wales, who came to stay here in 1895, and so much of the house was done to celebrate and honour his visit. There's been Princess Alexandra, his wife. King George V and Queen Mary signed a visitor's book for Armina in London. And Prince George, Duke of Kent, was my father-in-law's godfather. Prince George, Duke of Kent, was the Queen's uncle. And then he had 3 children, the Duke of Kent, Prince Michael of Kent, and Princess Alexandra, who've also all visited here. And then, of course, the Queen, who was my husband's godmother, which was an extraordinary honour. Geordie's father was one of her closest long-standing friends. And he always used to tell the story of VE Day 1945, when the Queen, Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret, my pa-in-law and 5 or 6 of their friends, all dressed in uniform, left the palace that night and then congoed and sang and danced round the streets of London, stood outside the black railings of Buckingham Palace, shouting up at their parents, "Long live the King and Queen," before slipping back inside as an extraordinary moment in his life and their life. So it is a wonderful memory to have. And the Queen has visited here. She used to visit with my parents-in-law. So I was lucky enough, before I was married to Geordie, he had said to me, we're going to go have supper with my parents tonight. This was about 4 o'clock. And by the way, the Queen's going to be there. So which was amazing. And you don't have time to worry about it. So there were 5 of us for supper round the table. So it was a huge honour to meet her in a way that I never envisaged that I would. Then after the death of my father-in-law, I'd asked her and the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, to come and stay here, which they did a few times, which was, again, a great honour and quite a lot of kerfuffle behind the scenes.
At that dinner, the dinner for 5,
yeah.
You got a few hours advance notice for. What was the conversation like? If you could kind of describe that for people who may have seen The Crown or something like that, but don't really have a feel for that. What went on?
I suppose as Geordie's fiancé at that point, I just wished to not be forward and not get it wrong. So I would follow the conversation, not initiate it. And the Queen was always very aware of people's impressions and concern when you met her, that you'd be very much in awe or very worried about saying anything. So she always went out of her way to make you feel at rest, at ease, and make you feel at home. Obviously, my parents-in-law home. So I was reply when I was spoken to. So I just went like that, which was a much better way to go. You listen and observe, and then hopefully don't get it wrong. And then, we were lucky enough to stay with the Queen when she asked us to her residences, and you always had to change lots of times through the day. And then I was always running along a corridor because you had to be in the room before the Queen arrived. And then whenever it came in the room, I was always curtsying. I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to or not, or who was coming in, but safest thing to curtsy. So you were just curtsying randomly. But I didn't mind at all. It was an honour, and I wanted to show respect. So, and again, not get it wrong.
To an American audience, or to a portion of the American audience, it seems like a lot of work.
I think it's a sense of formality which gives us a little bit of structure in the world. I think there's a queen of the world in many ways, which I think was apparent to so many people after she died. She was that still small voice of calm. And I think in the way that you respect your elders and betters in a culture, it is worthwhile just saying thank you. And it's not difficult. It's an acknowledgement of a small curtsy or just a bow of your head, to say thank you for your service, because her life was about service. And as she would, thank God for her role in his world, that was for us to also thank her for what she did. Again, it's not about money, it's about what you do. And she tried to lead by example. So I think I learned an enormous amount from watching and listening and observing. And if I was lucky enough to be in her presence, that was what I was doing. And I'd rather reply when being spoken to. They all knew far more than I did. And it was a huge honour, and I should write it down probably at some point.
Golden days in the sunshine of our happy youth.
Golden days full of innocence and full of truth. In our hearts we remember them all hells above. Golden days, days of youth and love.
How we laughed with a joy that only love can bring.
Looking back through memories, we will know life has nothing sweeter than its springtime. Golden days when we're young. Golden days. Joy that only love can bring. Looking back through memories, we will know life has nothing sweeter than its springtime. Golden days when we're young. Golden days.
I've written a lot down. Which was your, and I know this is a silly question, it's like asking your favorite child, but which was your favorite book to work on?
I have one of 6 girls, so I don't have a favourite sister, and I have 7 dogs. I don't have a favourite dog. I don't have a favourite horse. Well, maybe I do, actually, Phoebe. But so there isn't a favourite. This is a castle which is so rich in layers of history, of visitors, of people who've come here. So it's different ways of telling the story about all of the different generations of people who've lived here for over 1,200 years. I think that's extraordinary. And I think when it's quite a fragile world and we're wondering which direction we're going in, it's possibly not a brilliant one in terms of climate change or in terms of the way we interact with each other, not giving each other time to develop, but the quick repartee, which is not always very positive, that social media can engender. So I think it's lovely. I mean, there was no photographic book about Highclere. Oh my goodness. So I thought with At Home, this is a home. So At Home at Highclere is, I think, still a beautiful book. And what does the home do? It has food, recipes, welcome. It has stories, weekends, just like Maggie Smith, royalty, politicians, statesmen, music, Malcolm Sargent, Henry James, I mean, what an extraordinary wealth of stories to tell. Seasons at Highclere is a book which allows you to travel through the season, thinking how we can live best, how we can tread lightly on this world and the beauty of it, outside as well as in. Christmas, well, who doesn't love Christmas? And then I've written 2 historical books, and in my latest book, The Earl and the Pharaoh, I love, because his lifetime was when all the technology which we take for granted today began. The cars, the planes, how we travel, how we get around, electricity, heating, plumbing, all of that came into the castle in his time. And they perhaps did a better job at looking after the world, despite the wars that we're doing now. And we have a war too.
Is the lesson of Highclere perhaps that it's a sea of stability in a world of change?
Perhaps a little bit, and it's keeping going. And you would think, despite everything, and despite the antiquity and the heritage, and the fact that this is a home with 250 rooms, which nobody would build today, but it's vision, it's imagination, it's inspirational, it's full of craftsmanship, it's full of care, full of time. It's that perhaps which often we're all looking for. So I'm always hoping when people come here, they take time, that they don't rush, or that again with friends of Highclere, they can sit in the music room, they can take time to look up at the ceiling and feel they're here with me and that we're all friends, because we should be.
There's a wonderful line in Downton Abbey that Maggie Smith says, talking about parenting, and she talks about the on and onness of it. And I guess the same could be said about Highclere.
Yes, I think it is. Well, Maggie Smith said an awful lot of very sensible things. But when she wasn't saying that, so was Carson. I think it's all about the journey of life. I think we set off as when we were quite young, looking for a goal and looking for things. And as you get on, you realise it's the journey. You never know when it's going to end. But it's the journey every day. And that's what matters.
I'll walk with God from this day on. His helping hand I'll lean upon. This is my prayer, my humble plea. May the Lord be ever with me.
There is no death, though eyes grow dim. There is no fear when I'm near to Him.
I'll lean on Him forever, and He'll forsake me never. He will not fail me as long as my faith is strong.
Whatever road I may walk along, I'll walk with God. I'll take His hand. I'll talk with God. He'll understand. I'll pray to Him each day, to Him, and He'll hear the words that I say.
a little bit of a sideline, but not really, and this is the last area I'll try to cover, the Egyptology. If you could talk about Tutankhamun.
Well, where shall I start? The 5th Earl of Carnarvon lived here with his wife Almina at the end of the 19th century, the reign of Queen Victoria, into the following king, Edward VII, and George V, to give you a timeline. He would have gone to all their coronations and funerals. He was an extraordinary man. He filled every minute with 60 seconds of life well run, although partly asthmatic, one who smoked, was a traveller and adventurer and an early car driver. He had a passion for Egypt. He'd gone out there in 1906, won a concession to excavate, and every winter spent 2 or 3 months out in Egypt, initially on his own, excavating in the Valley of the Nobles, the Valley of the Queens, really creating his credentials. And then he took on Howard Carter as his ADC. So that became a big part of Lord Carnarvon's life, the 5th Earl's life. In 1914, he won the concession to excavate in the Valley of the Kings. He won it because he was sharing what he'd found. He'd published it. He'd kept records, good photographs, experienced in his care, and his excellent team he'd put together. And he was actually looking for the tomb of Tutankhamun. And later on in his life, he said, I think I've shifted 60,000 tons of debris and sand to get down to the bedrock to try to find any area which no one else had ever explored and discovered. And they knew Tutankhamun's tomb, one of the 18th dynasty pharaohs, all of whom were buried in the Valley of the Kings, had not been found, although some statues relating to Tutankhamun had been found in various temples. So they knew his reign was about 9 years long. So he must have existed, and his tomb hadn't been found. So with that, Lord Carnarvon and Howard Carter were looking for his tomb. Hard work and good fortune led them to discover the first 2 steps down to the tomb. So I suspect that with no Lord Carnarvon, no tomb of Tutankhamun. So his role has never been shared, explored. And I wanted to write a book which made you want to turn the page. What happens next? And also share some of the historical knowledge and the history of archaeology to make it a book of depth and interest, but a page turner. Because he was like the Indiana Jones, I think, of the Last Crusade, but with more care.
Talk a little bit about Julian Fellowes, who was a friend and really kind of wrote the series with this castle in mind.
He did. Well, Julie and Emma have often come and stayed because I didn't want to look after a museum. I wanted to look after a home. It's called a stately home, and both those words matter to me. So anyway, they were staying here, and he wrote Downton with Highclere in mind because although it's a large house with 250, 300 rooms, it's still more of a home around the saloon. You know, you can sit here as we are and have a cup of coffee and things like that. I think it worked, luckily for us, and we were chosen from many other homes. Julian and Emma have often eaten with us, and we've fed them well, and they've had delicious wine. So many of the scenes of Downton Abbey are set in the dining room. I think that's why. It's been such a lovely evening. But I think we're going to go next door for some cocktails. Isn't that great?
Yeah, so.
Libiamo nei lieti calici che la bellezza infiora e là fuggevo l'ora s'inebria voluta.
Libiam dolci fremiti suscita l'amore, poiché quello che al cuore onnipotente va.
Libiamo amore tra i calici più più caldi baci avrà. Tra voi saprò dividere il tempo mio giocondo. Tutto è follia, follia nel mondo, ciò che non è piacer. Godiamo fugace e rapido il gaudio dell'amore, e un fior che nasce amore né più si può goder. Godiam ci invita un vermido accendo lusinghiere. La vita è nel tripudio quando non sammi ancora. Non dite a chi l'ignora, è il mio destin così. Godiamo la tazza, il cantico, la notte bella e riso. In questo paradiso ne scopra il nuovo di ne scopra il di ne scopra il di Life's many players and the roads of their journeys form the memories that last forever. Some start with riches and others nearly nothing, but all of their lives weave together. Time goes by through war and peace. The world keeps turning endlessly. It's filled with loss and love, with trials and triumphs. Each tries to find their way.